doing here?
Hey now. How are you, man? How you doing?
Still can't hear him. Now he's
Rich,
here.
can you?
Now I added him. Maurice, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. So I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Now we can.
Yes, we can. Sorry about earlier. We had some technical glitches. We ended the whole broadcast. So how you doing,
So
Maurice?
where? What? I'm waiting for Asim to join.
I'm here.
Oh yeah. Very yeah. I would agree. I agree. Looks like a different
I've
person.
been good. I've been good.
Good.
Been
So
good.
Maurice, Maurice. So this is my friend Rich. We go back a few years. We always talk about cyber risk information, a lot of different ideas while helping people from a career perspective or helping smaller, mid-sized company, etc. Um, and we figure we always had this show going off the air, but we decided to do the. By the way, this is the recorded show. This is not live yet. We will put this on the YouTube channel, and we will send out the notification when we do that. And for the future shows, we'll definitely do live as well. But this one we could not do it again for
I, I
technical.
actually I actually think there's a slight chance this might be live. Why does it say live if it's not live?
No, it's not. It's not live. It's live recording.
Very good. Very good.
All right. So let me. I think we're not gonna waste time. So I'm gonna bring on. So basically, I'll introduce myself. Obviously, I have a background security, risk, compliance, audit. I have a ton of experience in that field. Been to many organizations, financials, others, otherwise. And Rich, have you introduce yourself, and then we'll give it to Maurice to talk about some strategy, and
Yeah.
then we'll do a dialogue because I don't want to just do one presentation and then not do a dialogue. So go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. My name's Rich. Maurice, good to meet you. I've been in cybersecurity myself about 20 years. I'm a big fan of cyber, big fan of the scene. And yeah, we wanted just to put this show together and invite people like you on and try to have some fun in the remote, none of the office-free world that we're living in. But I think the objective here is just to get common folk together with who have the same experiences and try to see if we can get something going, sharing ideas and getting some exposure on LinkedIn and see if it could help us professionally, personally, and just do something I think proactive. So good to meet you. I can tell already. I think you're gonna fit perfectly for the first show. So thanks for being here on the first show with us. It's actually exciting. We're trying to make it exciting. So thanks again.
Okay, great. Yeah, I appreciate it. I actually didn't realize it was the first show, so I feel pretty good to be a part of the inaugural effort.
Oh, definitely. The spotlight's on you, but no. This is yeah. Hopefully, this will grow into something that's organic, and I think Asim, what do we have in store for Maurice here today?
Yes. So Maurice, as we talked about it, right? That we want to talk about different topics, and I think you wanted to talk about the importance of strategy. I think let's get out of the way, and I know you probably have other questions. I can sense, and then we'll probably answer those and have a discussion. This doesn't have to be, a 20-minute, half an hour. If you can do this in 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, because I want to get this discussion going into the smaller companies or mid-sized companies. What does that mean for them, etc. So I'll give you the floor. I don't know if you want to share something or you can share using your panel.
I appreciate that, Asim and Rich. I think that this is a great effort. This is a great vehicle to leverage our skill sets and our experiences and to help, some of the mid to smaller companies or businesses bolster their cybersecurity posture. A little bit about me. I've been in cybersecurity roughly 20 years, kind of cut my teeth from the ground up. Started as a VPN help desk analyst for Cisco VPN way back years ago, and basically just, I had a bunch of good people around me that were patient with me and allowed me to study with them. Went from, answering the VPN help desk calls to creating Nessus and Nmap scripts, and then going from vulnerability scanning into pen testing, then into incident response. From incident response, moved into some risk and governance. Then went from there into just straight up audit DoD space, and then
Hey, welcome back, Maurice.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Pretty strong.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't want to do this. I was actually using my phone, so maybe the issues were me. But the video on my laptop is horrible, as you can see.
Yeah.
So I was using my phone, but now I have a great audio because I have a mic. I got an awesome podcast mic.
Yeah. Nice.
But this is the best I can do. I apologize, man. I know the video is terrible.
I think one man, one voice. I think that works fine. Yeah, I mean, so no issues here. Thanks again for hopping on, Maurice. I think we lost the trail end of what you were saying, but let me help recap this way. When you hopped off, I basically told Asim how I was really surprised by how it seemed that you were thrown into the deep end into cyber really early in your IT career, and the fact that you were exposed to so many different areas was striking to me. You went from like Cisco VPN to Nessus to Nmapping. I think then you said to audit. Was that all taking place within a 2 to 5 year period, or even 2 to 5 years, Maurice, is an incredibly concentrated area of time to be spending in those areas. So it was fascinating to me, or interesting to me.
Actually, I would have to say that I went all the way from Cisco VPN experience into Nessus, into Nmap. Actually, don't forget scripting as well, because what we were doing, we were creating. It was just a bunch. It was some shell scripting, but I went into all that just right off the break in my career. Like I said, one of the things that enabled me was I was just around a bunch of very sharp and patient people. So I did go through all of those varying things. I would say in a time frame, probably in 4 years, I went from 0 to pen testing.
Okay, Maurice. So, and Asim, feel free to cut me off at any point, because I happen to be a bit of a cybersecurity nerd. Meaning I have. Yeah.
Go ahead. No. I know this is your passion in this area, so I'll let you lead. Yeah.
I have a lot of opinions, and when you say pen testing, there's good pen testing, and then there's just like not pen testing. So I'd be happy, if this is the right time, to dive into that a little bit. What kind of pen testing are we talking about? Can you we using tools or manually? Because 10, 15 years ago, you're not having a lot of tools. Maybe Metasploit, not much else, right?
No. Well, Metasploit wasn't even. I don't think Metasploit was out at that time. Right. And Metasploit definitely wasn't. It was free. Yeah. And I remember when it first came out, that was one of the tools where we could start to do it. So a lot of the pen testing, I sat under this guy. Fortunately, my group of folks on the contract that I was on, a lot of these guys were out of the Air Force Academy from their cybersecurity program. So we were literally leveraging Nmap, Nasal scripts, Nessus. What was the other one? NIC2 for some of the web stuff, and just more of the mostly CLI based. Assessment. So there's a lot of manual stuff in there, but you could say it's automated because a lot of you leverage the tool. But if you needed to create something custom, then we would do that.
Could we throw a year in there? We're talking 2005?
No. Yeah, 2003 to 2006.
Okay. All right. Now I see Asim nodding. Asim, were you relevant in 2003?
Not at this airspace at all. I was a totally different field, dealing with death of blue screen, stuff like that, or NT stuff, networking, none of that stuff. Yep.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Asim, because the reality is I really wasn't. I don't think I was relevant at that. I mean, I was doing the work, but I remember before I got that job, I was trying to get in this. Let me take a step back. Why did I even get into cybersecurity?
Right.
I thought you were thrown into it. I'm not sure it was by choice.
It was by choice, but the opportunity was like thrown in. So one of my friends at the time told me that he made $60,000 a year, and I found that just inconceivably high salary, and I needed it. Okay. I've got to make that much money. And so he was a checkpoint VPN firewall guy at the time. Okay. You know, he's now finishing his doctorate in cybersecurity. But I just wanted to go down that path. And I remember I had an interview prior with the University of Washington out in Seattle. And I had hatched this plan to start there by getting up some Linux experience that I didn't have. The only problem was I didn't have the Linux experience, and I was applying for a Linux admin job. So I put a bunch of Linux on my resume, like just a totally faked out resume. And I got the interview, and we're going through the interview, and I'm killing it. And the guy's like, you know, let's get into some of the Linux stuff. And he's just, you know, basic Linux, you know, hey, how do you list directories? Okay, got it. LS. How do you list processes? All right, PS, got it. Boom. So he's asking one other question. I forget what it was. He was like, "You don't know Linux, do you?" I was like, "Nah, I really don't. I'm trying to break into the field." He was like, "You know what? You seem like you're really sharp. You seem like you really, you know, you could do it, but I don't have time to actually teach you. I need somebody who can come in and go straight, you know, hit the ground running." Fast forward, I was in a similar position with the Cisco VPN role. And so it was basically a help desk. You answer questions related to Cisco VPN, troubleshoot VPN, which I had never done. I hadn't done anything like that. But the manager said, "Hey, I think you can do it. I'm gonna give you a shot." So I was working second shift, doing that role, and just from there, went all the way up. So it was basically an incident response capability for the entire veteran affairs.
It's fantastic. Asim, I was going to ask, what's our policy here, position on name dropping in general? Are we open to this?
Did I drop a name?
No, you didn't. But on your LinkedIn profile, we have a couple of shared contacts. But just in general, I'm not sure how aggressive or what our policy is here on.
It's really if you feel comfortable to mention whatever you want to mention is really up to you, Maurice. And because this is really we know, you know, we all professional work in the field. This totally has nothing to do with where we work, who we represent as a professional. This is more of a at the personal level, our experience. You know, we use over 20 plus years. Everybody has that experience, so we're here to have any open discussion. We're fine with that as long as I think we don't use the current employers or anything, I guess, confidential, like normally you would do at your work anyway. Other than that, I think it's open discussion. So there's no,
Now, getting back to what something Maurice said, and I find this fascinating, a great topic, and I'd like to talk about it. You mentioned that, I don't know what.
But Rich, let me, before you go on to all this, what I want to do at the end of the day, I want to give opportunity to Maurice to talk about the strategy and the roadmap stuff we will talk about. Maybe 5 minutes of that, but but finish this. I love this career stuff. This is my passion too. This is I had a humble beginning.
The thing is, I think, you know, one of the reasons why I feel that some of this stuff, gosh, this camera is just like terrible, man. Jeez. I'm already going to have to line up a second.
You look great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So I think one of the ways that this thing is relevant, particularly from understanding the career perspective, when you start to get into strategy, right, and road mapping, particularly from a cybersecurity perspective, when you talk about a holistic program, you need a holistic set of experiences. So you need to have had a varying level of expertise within cybersecurity. It's almost like taking the CISSP exam, you know, where they say it's a mile long and only 10 feet deep. You know, you want to go a little bit deeper, but you do want to have that distance in your career to help you with strategies and roadmaps. So that's kind of why I was bringing that up, was kind of just get into how did I actually get into strategy and road mapping based on a career that was diverse, as Rich has said.
Is it my turn now, Asim?
Go ahead, man. You don't have to. Go ahead. Jump in.
Another fascinating comment, because there's a difference between being knee deep in the trenches, which you were, and you can't replace that pain with CISSPs through strategy roadmap. So the collision of both worlds, and we can get into that. But if I could, please take it back to the initial segment. Maurice, I believe, said the word, I think he said fabrication. Was that the word you used? Because
relative to some of the skills on my resume, yes.
Yeah. Now this, I think, it could be an entirely acceptable, recommendable tactic for individuals who want to get in, basically break into the career. It worked out for you. I think.
No. It didn't work out. That's the whole point, is that it didn't work out.
I beg your pardon. I thought it was an impressive maneuver, and it worked out for you. So I apologize that I misinterpreted that. It was getting very.
Yeah, no, right. I think it only worked out from the perspective of getting the interview, but then I was quickly exposed. So I wouldn't recommend to anybody putting anything on their resume that they actually didn't have.
Now,
and I'll second that, because you asked me what are the rules, right? So it's not about the rules. I think integrity and being ethical is number one rule, right? Other than that, everything goes, and whatever I said earlier.
Sure about that.
Because and it's not like we have not put a twisted truth in our resume. I wouldn't say fabricated or maybe
when I said fabricated, I meant like a twisted truth. I didn't put but I think even that twisted truth, Asim, I think I wouldn't even tell people to do that. Yeah, I think that if there's, what I've learned is there's ways that you can put things on your resume that allude to what you're learning or you're trying to do, right? Yeah. Versus, sitting down and saying, hey, I know this. I have things like, for example, I've put certain things on my resume, like let's say a certification, right? That I might just be starting, but I know that it's a direction that I want to go, and I'll just put a date out forward, like March 2021 or whatever it is. And so that way I don't have to. It shows that I have a drive for something, but I'm not saying that I actually have it now. But it also gets you in the resume database. I mean, the skill set database that the headhunters are looking for. All
right. My rule of thumb is if you can speak to it for a half hour, but that's my rule of thumb, then it's game. Now a half hour is a long time.
I was going to say half hour is a very long time. Right.
So 5 minutes probably suffices. But I once had a colleague, and we could invite her perhaps to the show, and she looked at my resume and she said, I'm not sure you're properly representing yourself. And what I responded was that I may have not been in that position directly for 6 months to a year, but I had exposure enough that I can speak to every single bullet point for a half hour in my resume. Whether it was directly and indirectly, I gained the knowledge by being in large organizations and just seeing how other people address cybersecurity issues. Why is that not experience so valuable to put in the resume? It was part of my role. It was part of my experience that it became a collective sort of knowledge. And so totally agree on that. Now, the reason I brought the fabrication piece was basically to tease, but it was mostly because the hackers don't play by the rules.
That's true.
Okay, but so on the resume, I get that piece on ethics and integrity, but in the broader scheme of scene, companies are now doing offensive security, right, Maurice? Why?
Absolutely.
Yes, because over time, companies realize we need to be on the offensive. There was a big game changer in the cybersecurity industry, and it happened delicately, maybe around 2010, and I don't have the greatest insight. I'd love your insights on that. Where cyber became offensive. right? And now we have purple teaming, right? And now we have both sides. Yeah, I'm glad you, but that's exactly what we got, right? So I'm glad you're. See, Maurice, it really relates sort of the idiosyncrasies, the paradoxical natures that are going on here in cyber and hacking. So I just wanted to be to the forefront. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, offensive security versus defensive, red teaming, blue teaming, purple teaming, white hat versus black hat, and all those things. I mean, let's be real. At the end of the day, man, you're either doing it for one reason or you're doing it for the other reason, right? And you're both doing it, right? So I think that a lot of that is marketing. I mean, hey, making the career sound a certain way. But let's also not forget, when we talk about some of those terms, particularly in the United States cybersecurity space, a lot of that stuff comes from the military. It's driven from the military. It's driven from DoD.
I believe, if not mistaken, and Maurice, you'll have a better insight. Lockheed Martin, partly responsible for the offensive nature. The kill chain came from
kill chain, whole kill chain discussion. Yes,
I think it was the very first model that basically took on this stance. It was revolutionary. At the time, personally, I was in a transition phase, and I just I didn't. But then and now we have MITRE meter, right?
MITRE's been around a while, but now the attack framework that they have is something that they just partnered with the government on. But MITRE, as far as the managing vulnerability, the vulnerability database and stuff like that, they've been around. I mean, these are all players, major government contractors. So I think that when you look back and you just go back historically, just even the start and the creation of the internet and TCP/IP and things like that, it has its start, whether you want to say DoD, Department of Defense, or just military in general. A lot of the practices, some of the coined phrases have actually started there and then made their way out.
Yeah. Totally agree. We had a slight hiccup there. But okay. Yeah.
So continue, Maurice. I guess the next is we want to, so you started a humble beginning. You went through a lot from the beginning, and then tell me around what happens. When did you felt that you landed? I think so. In the beginning, yes, you were trying to hack into it, quick learning. You found a good mentor. You mentioned you try to mention somebody you met, right, who helped you as well. So when do you felt you landed now, and then from there, once you landed, from there to today, becoming a strategist in cyber, and just walk us through and maybe talk about that for a couple of minutes.
I think it is worth name dropping, because there are two people in particular who I would have to name drop in any success that I have in cybersecurity. And one of them, actually it'd be three. One of them would be Aaron Rhodes. He's one of the sharpest individuals, human beings that I've ever met. Extremely sharp, extremely talented person. And I think that's the one thing that I really like about cybersecurity, is that a lot of times you meet people that are just gifted. They're just actually gifted. They're literally gifted. And you may have thought that you were gifted, and then you meet this person and you realize, you know what? I think I need to work on my gift a little bit.
I like that comment, Maurice. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just egging you on. Definitely. Okay.
Yeah. And so Aaron Rhodes was one of those guys, and Amin Tora is another one, a very close friend of mine. He's a personal friend. The reason why I got into cybersecurity, was trying to follow in his footsteps. But we literally used to sit down and go over TCP/IP Illustrated Volume 1 and 2. We just went over the protocols.
And 2, yeah.
I mean, literally just nerding out on the packet, on encapsulation, on the whole thing. And so he really helped me. And so I think that landing would have to go to another individual, and he has his own company. Felix Thomas and his son Sadiq Kareem offered me an opportunity to become a DoD auditor, and my primary areas were database, web servers, and Linux. And we were doing, back in that day, it was, I think it was DITSCAP, then DIACAP auditing. And I kind of felt like that's when I first landed. And then here more recently, after my experience with Ernst & Young and hitting so many different levels of this, whether you talk, operations, you talk engineering, architecture, incident response, I can kind of talk to all of those varying areas. So I think I landed again here while I was with Ernst & Young, and then as I left Ernst & Young to take a role with a startup. So I think you'll find that in your career you land actually a couple of times, because as technologies change, as processes change, even like your example, Rich, with the kill chain, right? Like that, the kill chain you could argue started before 2010 with threat modeling and that whole thing is I'm going to start building things out, but now you would say, hey, kill chain's been out for a little bit, and you kind of sit and you've landed again with kill chain. So as technology advances and as models themselves advance, you can see and find areas where if you look back, you're like, you know what, this is where I landed. I landed a couple of times throughout my career.
Good answer.
And I think actually, Asim, this is actually a good segue into now strategy, right? So those varying landing points that I had positioned me well now to be able to take a step back and kind of look at the vision of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to provide to the company or to the entity or to the business, and now start to create a strategy that applies all of the security principles, but also enables the business. Because I think that one of the things that I've seen personally is a lot of security practitioners become so caught into the fighting the hacker, if you will, that they forget that our number one role is to enable the business in a way that is secure.
Okay. I love that. Because another way of saying that is that there's too much focus on threat intelligence outside in, the hacker perspective, where you should be worrying about, and it's actually on my resume. I'm gonna give you my buzzword. Try not to steal it. I call it asset-based risk management.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like you said, from the business inside out. So, Maurice, we're aligned. I'm sold on you as a guest. I'm sold on you as a cybersecurity strategist. You name dropped a couple of people, very impressive. Yeah. So, where do we take this? Do we give prizes now, Asim?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I would like a prize. That's for sure. I mean, it is COVID-19, so you can send me a Grubhub or Uber Eats or something like. Hey, I'm open.
Or we'll invite you to the Zoom party, next party that we have.
No Zoom party. I need something I can eat. It's got to be sweet.
Sounds good.
This is actually great, man. I think that we do need a space where we can kind of just chop some stuff up, man. And yeah. I'm open anytime you want to bring me in and discuss something. I'm free. Yes. I think the one guarantee I will make is that I will have a better camera next time, because I also do some stuff on the personal side, and I typically use my phone for video, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working today. So I do apologize for that, but I do think that I owe it to you guys and to your constituency and your audience to be more visible, like security.
I got to tell you, the best. The best hackers I know, you don't know what they do. It's pretty fuzzy, right? Like there's
right.
But anyhow, so no harm done really in that regard with me.
Yeah, and I wanted to say we want to use this platform. Like I said, we will do. We can do a smaller, high-level trainings. If you have a strategy or if you have a framework you put together and you want to share, get a pine for other folks. What do they think? Because we all know the traditional frameworks, and you know how difficult it is for somebody who is new or not a lot of experience to take that hundreds of pages and kind of customize to what they should be doing, right? And pretty much it's all the similar stuff. We all know that. The wording is different. The color context is different. but at the end of the day, it's same. So I think we'll definitely have another session or more than one session in the future, a month from now or whenever. We'll figure that out scheduling wise, where we'll talk about more strategy. What does it mean for Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company, just a high level, or what does it mean for somebody who owns, I don't know, 15 stores or whatever, where they have customer data they put in their computer at home or whatever. They're the accountant, they are the IT guys. What does it mean for them? What happens? And what is the risk? And then Rich, maybe we could also talk about the bot creation in the cyber world and how
that's what I was literally
yeah.
gonna mention. I think for some of the smaller companies, a lot of times they think data, when for me it's like, I just don't want anybody to use my system.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, forget the data. Like, I don't want nobody on my box.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, those things we can get into. I think that, and it's interesting that you mentioned, and I just really realized the name of the show, Connecting the Dots, but I'm literally providing a connecting the dots type of accessory or auxiliary training right now. I have a friend of mine who is trying to transition into IT. And so we are going through the A Cloud Guru, AWS Solutions Architect video series, right? Now, mind you, I've got AWS experience. I'm not AWS certified, but I'm very proficient in AWS. So I'm going through this AWS video series with this person. And so whenever they have questions or stuff, I actually connect the dots for them live. And so,
Maurice, from one security guy to another, I don't know why this is a personal statement, but I'm a little allergic to the old AWS, GCP. I'm not comfortable in those environments. I got to be honest. I don't.
You're gonna have to be. It's just what it is.
They're not easy to navigate. They're not intuitive to me. Maybe my mentality has changed, but maybe the newer millennial generations like those environments. I find them challenging. Google did not solve the issue in my
none of them actually solved the issue as far as I assume you're talking about the interface and just
configuration, firewall, put outputs, what connected to what, which containers can talk to what. It's messy here, it's messy there. My take.
I think I have a little different take in that. It's just my view, right? And I think it's made these cloud interfaces, these so-called consoles or the backend is a lot easier now, right? It's complex when you get into when you want to configure a complex application or systems or networks for the larger companies, but it's easy, it's simple when you're keeping it simple compared to when we had a code and when we had to have hardware installed and all of that. I think it made that easy. And I want to make one more comment where it's all totally eliminated sort of a system, the rack, the purchase, the procurement, the racking, the stacking, all of those images. I mean, forgot what they call them, images and all that testing and all the compliance and all that stuff. I think with few clicks, you can spin that. I'm talking about simplicity systems. When you get to complex, different zones, different, VPCs and different, I want to have the resiliency and the BCP and have, all that 3-tiered application running, it get complex. But I think from a newer comer, somebody who wants to get in again, who wants to learn these things, you can click and then spin and you're in business. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that's one of you have the agility with the cloud, you have the speed to transform, and then you don't have. Although I would argue, I'm not sure the cost is that any. Is it as cost prohibitive as they're saying? So that's interesting. But I think those are things we could discuss in future topics. So I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, Asim, so what do we stand on? What's our process for vetting guest speakers and having them have recurring roles on the show, or maybe?
Hey, you know what? Hey, Rich, I've got to, listen, just hear me out, guys. Hear me out. All right. And this, I'm going to be very, very candid.
Sure.
One of the things that I've seen in my career, and I don't know if you guys can attest to this, but there was not a lot of minority representation early in my career. Like at least, well, I'm going to say it wasn't until maybe the last 5 or 6 years I started. It wasn't just me and somebody else. Like it was now 2 or 3 other folks. So I think that today's climate, and interestingly enough, to have a discussion like this with the individuals that are on this call kind of speaks to where cybersecurity has changed and grown. And with that being said, I would like to be a recurring guest, and I'm leveraging hip hop and cybersecurity in one. So I can have a recurring role where I talk about hip hop and analogous to cybersecurity.
I love it, but Asim, it's your call.
Yeah, no. It's. I think this show is gonna evolve. So and thank you, Maurice, for saying this. We'll really appreciate it. It really means a lot to us. I think definitely you'll be definitely our number one recurring guest. And we also have to evolve this. I think I also see envisioning creating some sort of a forum, some sort of I might not use the right terminology, some sort of a group of individual. And so we can opine on some white papers in the future, opine on some of these, written papers. And Rich, we started talking about a little bit yesterday, or come up with some more of a,
great idea. This is a great idea because so Maurice, so what we talked about earlier today is that, and what we're saying is that we should write white papers and basically publish collectively, like a group collective to publish into the cybersecurity industry, because I have lots of ideas and I can never get behind writing a book or finishing my own dissertation. But if I had this support structure, I've enjoyed this 40 minutes conversation, didn't even feel it. That's a great idea. Would you be into that, Maurice? A collective authorship of cybersecurity knowledge, we put it out there into the public domain. What do you think?
You know what's funny? Is I actually interviewed with AWS around September, October.
Okay.
And they actually believe that collaboration is the only way to really move forward. Like the model is no longer one person go off and do a white paper or one person go off. Like the whole model at AWS is collaborative. So I'm with it all the way.
You were down in Virginia for that?
No, Seattle.
Okay, I was in Virginia around that same time period, actually. Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's yeah.
No, I was gonna say. So there's a lot of different ideas, Maurice. This is just the beginning. This is call it a stepping stone, launching pad, whatever you want to call it. There's a bigger vision behind this. At the end of the day, we do want to help out. The individuals. We do want to help our small and medium-sized company. At the same time, we wanted to bring on, more professional. They can opine on a lot of different things, and we can use this platform for training. For go ahead, Rich. I know you would dying to say something.
Asim has this master plan. I'm a simple guy. I just think Maurice would be a good DJ. I don't want the music responsibility. I want to get rid of this musical responsibility. I found a solution to sing. Let's bring in Maurice with the hip hop.
Sounds good. And Maurice, Rich is being very humble. He's obviously a PhD doctor, and obviously he showed his intelligence in a few minutes of discussion that we have here. Is a very humble guy, and that's why we connect. And he asked me, why did I think of you at the first show? I mean, I reached out to a couple of folks. Sorry, it's my headset. Sorry, again, technical glitch. But I reached out to a couple of folks, and they reached out to me. We were going to schedule them as well. But I thought of you. I knew that we kind of know we worked together in the same, I guess, a compound for a few years.
Yeah, right.
So we know each other, right? And I think and Maurice, you bring in a lot of that humbleness beginning, and then the hustleness that you made it as a strategist. I think that's really why I wanted to bring in. This is what this show is about. if somebody watch this video and kind of hear this, what Maurice had to say, I mean, they can believe that they can do it too, right? And we'll talk about diversity. We'll talk about all this diversity and inclusion. We'll talk about forming a forum and all of that. But I think you definitely will be recurring guest to our show, and then we'll talk more about this on different topics. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's a great idea. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
So yeah, before you go, we also talk about, want to make this fun. I think today we had a lot of fun, huh? Maybe not 99% of the time, Rich, I said, but I think it was fun, at least to us. And that is the most important part, right? If one of us would feel that we didn't benefit or we didn't have fun or something was boring, the audience is gonna think the same way, right? So we at least have to put this I guess bar set at this high or higher, right? We're gonna make it higher and higher. And at the end, it's always fun to add a couple of things. I know, Rich, you had some question for Maurice. No, but I just had one question, and we're going to ask all of our guests, right, at the end. Election 2020, Trump or Biden?
Wow, you're gonna do that?
That's not mine. I'd say I was gonna do a lightning round. I was gonna do
Election 2020, Trump or Biden? Like, just say that, and I think that's your answer. That's all. Just say it.
Trump or Biden?
Look,
yeah, I mean, like,
to be quite honest, if you're gonna bring politics, which one is better for cybersecurity? Which one is better for cybersecurity, Trump or Biden?
Dr. Barilla, this question was posed more around, hey, you said this and that one, he won. This is more of a bragging right. But no, we will definitely have a discussion about cybersecurity and politics and some of those. Yeah, Obama, yep.
Obama was good for cyber, I think. I don't know, right? But anyhow, look, this might be sensitive, but I'm all for it. I'm all for politics and cybersecurity. I love the executive directive that was signed by Obama. No, it created a huge push. It made cyber a legitimate industry. I cannot tell you, Maurice, I've spoken to 50 different security vendors in the past 6 months. And there's just a new one every day. They find me on LinkedIn. And it's unbelievable tool set. We had nothing 20 years ago. Now there's a solution for everything. Just 10K here, 20K there. Yeah. And so this is all presidential. So I'm a big fan of somebody getting elected. I'll leave it to you guys. But thank you.
As far as like who's more beneficial for cybersecurity, I am in no position to speak to that. I think that I take the opposite approach in the sense that, you know, with the directive that Obama signed, I think that really, if you start on the ground and you just kind of mining along, and basically you're just a practitioner, you're really somebody that's trying to socialize and teach. So whether a directive is signed or not, your role is still to impart the knowledge and try to say, hey, here's where we should go. So I think that doesn't change whether it's Biden or Trump or anybody else. The requirement for a legit cybersecurity practitioner will remain constant.
You spoke like a true strategist, true business owner, entrepreneur, which is great. You know, that's fine. We'll take that answer. But so again, really appreciate you coming on, giving us your time. I want
a question like Biggie or Tupac. Give me something like Biggie or Tupac. Give me, you know, Michael Jackson versus Prince. Let's do something like that.
Rich, go for it, man. That's your domain. Yeah,
I lost it. I was gonna say MJ versus somebody else, but
MJ.
I gotta tell you, I knew Michael Jordan had an attitude problem. I don't know if you've been watching this on ESPN.
I've seen bits and pieces, but I knew that he was an a-hole already.
It's been on, right, ESPN. It's interesting. It was a good documentary on that, but we're talking about personalities and we're talking about that type of thing. Yeah, overall, we can use Jordan as a good example. He was dedicated to the game. He didn't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. He just wanted you to execute flawlessly, and that's what you were saying, Maurice. Look, I'm a cybersecurity strategist. I don't care. You can be nonpartisan. I'm nonpartisan, right? So, and sort of do it that way. I think. Yeah. Go ahead.
Jordan's methodology would not work in the real world, though. Like it only works in sports.
We have the triangle offense, but hey, I see
pushing people that hard and being that negative, like he's fired. Like it's just his whole methodology is only works in sports.
I'd be happy to address it in the next session, because there might be I disagree more.
Okay, cool.
Because if Jordan said, look, this is the control framework, we have to follow it, and his guys were that's what the arguments are about in the court. Michael Jordan got very upset because guys missed their shots. Now, if missing your shot or taking a shot is like having a security control, and then you security control and it fails, like Jordan is getting mad. Why is your security control weak? Where are the assurances? Like, what do you need to do to better train to get that shot in? So I'd love to do parallels on that too, beyond hip hop.
I think that's a relevant comparison, Rich.
Okay, appreciate it. Asim, I said we're 50 minutes here. We're 50 minutes hot. I'm not sure if we want to close on the uptick or what we're doing, but I've enjoyed my time.
No, I think like I said, it's really a pleasure having, besides some of those technical glitches, and one of the glitches that I'm having right now, I'm using Mac, by the way. I'm not a big user of it, but yeah, so I think it was really good. I want Rich, you to manage the control panel. I'm having some issues, but I think Maurice, definitely we'll have you on again. I really want to personally thank you, and I'm sure Rich, you also appreciated Maurice. I know you guys connected as well. And we'll talk more at the personal level too, maybe over the weekend or in a few days, and we'll catch up. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Fantastic. Take care, all.
Yep.
All right, so I think
the
next couple of minutes, right? Let's just do a recap, right? Couple of minutes, your opinion. And again, I think we had a lot of great points. I tried taking notes, but I think we're making great point after great point. I think I already know we need to grow our team. We need to have to catalog some of this, and let the viewer hear this, because viewer wants to, this show can be old the next 6 months when we have hundreds of other shows, and people wants to know, from a humble beginning and career, what are some of the things, do's or don't do it or whatever, who predicted, Trump versus, Biden, stuff like that. And we need to catalog all of this. But on a note on this interview, I think Maurice did talk about great thing. I think it's about hustling. It's about never giving up. It's about keep on keeping on. It's about finding good mentors. I think that was one of his messages too. And I think at the end of the day, he's really running his own company. He's part of the startup. I'm sure he's doing other stuff too. This is just my analysis on LinkedIn and whatnot. He did not share that. This is just my analysis looking at his LinkedIn profile. But I think overall, and we brought up a lot of future discussion point, right? Diversity and inclusion. I think that's great. I think a jointly written white paper, creating a forum, and some of other things. I just hear your thoughts, and then we can probably wrap up the show.
I think it's been a great inaugural show. Thank you for having me participate. Thank you for being the nucleus of this idea. I actually think that if we start generating a couple of these, I think the audience is going to find us not just informative, but like you said, a lot more entertaining. I can't help but have fun whenever I talk about cyber, especially the more I know about something, the more I like to poke holes at it. Hopefully that's going to be a positive for the show. That's the kind of role I want to have. It's the kind of role I'm hoping you and the guests will be accepting of. And I'll make one prognostication, one prediction. Mm-hmm. This show will be picked up by Spotify in 18 months. Because there's a lot of things going on with Spotify, and podcasting is taking off. And so not LinkedIn, not YouTube, Spotify. But I'm really happy. I think Maurice is a great guest star, and I think if Maurice has the time, we should bring him on permanently. I think even a 3-man show is fine. But I'll leave that in your hands, and we'll see how things progress. I think it was
we can do 5 more people and change the name to panel show. Hey, we can do anything we want to. But I think we'll take this as a stepping stone. I think the more guests we have, I think we're going to have a lot of guest favorites. I think we'll have Maurice call in. I think we have only Maurice. I think we'll have Maurice opine in stuff. And yes, he can be a permanent guest and participant in content as well. And I think we just need to find have few more shows so we can, settle down some of the initial format. But hey, we want comments from you guys, whoever is going to, watch this recording on a YouTube. And then, send us your comments. We have Asim and Rich Show at gmail.com. And send us your comments and questions. And if you want to be on the show, or if you want us to approach someone you think can be a great guest, we'll definitely can bring them on too.
How about we wrap? We'll do a little that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Look, just before we leave, we'll do 20, 30 seconds. Is it Asim or Asim? I need to know.
Well, it's Asim. If you can pronounce it, it's Asim. Has been all my career life, so they're both fine. Asim and Asim. Yeah.
Look, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. We're gonna do this again, and thanks everybody. It was
all right. Take care now. All right. See you next time. Bye.